Apple TV Plus has built quite a reputation for itself by producing a string of sci-fi hits, but there's still one project from 2024 that I'm devastated was cancelled before a second season could continue the story. Although not all Apple TV Plus sci-fi shows hit the same heights as its massive triumphs, like Severance or Silo, they are all still slickly executed and well thought out. Unfortunately, the platform pulling the plug on what I thought was an incredible show proved that no project is safe if it doesn't perform as expected. Constellation Season 1's ending came in late March 2024, and Apple TV Plus announced its decision shortly after that the show would not be renewed. With big stars like Jonathan Banks and Noomi Rapace among the Constellation cast, I figured another run of episodes was pretty much guaranteed. Sadly, not only was I wrong about that, but I had also grown far too confident in my belief that the world of Constellation was so interesting that it was impossible to ignore. Now, almost 12 months removed from Apple TV Plus' decision, I'm still not over what could have been. Nearly a year later, I'm still disappointed that Constellation Season 2 isn't happening. Constellation deserved at least one more run, but I'd have loved multiple seasons. I tuned in to watch Constellation's new episodes each week as soon as I could. Although I only started watching out of a vague sense of interest, I found myself immediately enraptured by the show's deeply mysterious premise. Although Constellation hid its most fascinating subcategory for a long while, gradually unveiling itself as a mini-multiverse saga was an arc I'll never forget. Looking back, Constellation included several clues that hinted Noomi Rapace's Joe Erickson was in the wrong universe, but the story had done too much of a convincing job at establishing itself as incredibly grounded. I've seen several arguments that Constellation Season 1 ends in a satisfying manner, or at least the finale can be left up to artful interpretation. I'm not sure if we were all watching the same show, because I couldn't disagree more. Constellation Season 2's cancellation clearly prevented showrunner Peter Harness from paying off all the open-ended teases he had embedded within the show's first batch of episodes. Of course, the initial disappointment I experienced in the wake of Apple TV Plus' decision has waned since, but it hasn't completely gone away. I'd still welcome Constellation Season 2 with open arms. Constellation Season 2 would have paid off Season 1's biggest moment. Joe's dead counterpart somehow came back to life aboard the International Space Station. I will admit that Constellation Season 1 did almost leave the show at a point in a somewhat satisfying place. Although Joe never really understands why she's misremembering so much about her life, she at least seems to be at peace with her new existence. The connection between the Valia and Irina Lysenko, both of whom are played by Barbara Sukowa, doesn't get a full explanation, but I'm okay with that particular mystery being folded into the show's general vibe. What I'm not happy about is the dead Joe aboard the ISS also starting to experience something similar to the Valia. Just as Constellation felt like it could have been a limited series that could have been endlessly debated, the alternate version of Joe that had died aboard the ISS in the other universe comes back to life and looks directly at the screen. It's very clear that Joe and her dead counterpart were about to go through something identical to what happened to Irina Lysenko and the Valia. There was obviously a solid explanation lurking somewhere in the shadows given the occurrence repeating itself, and now I'll never get to find out what it was. Apple TV Plus has other great sci-fi shows, but it just isn't the same. For All Mankind and Dark Matter sort of combined to create a Constellation replacement. As a massive sci-fi fan, I often find myself scrolling through Apple TV Plus' library for more shows in the same genre. The platform hasn't shied away from building stories around beloved sci-fi tropes, so I haven't been left short of things to watch after Constellation's abrupt ending. On the other hand, Apple TV Plus has yet to provide a direct replacement for the show I was so enthralled by. It has kind of come close with the continuation of the groundedless spacefaring For All Mankind, and Dark Matter's gritty take on multiversal travel, but Constellation combined those two hallmarks brilliantly. Apple TV Plus has also gone far grander with alternative projects like Foundation, and even ventured into a dystopian future with Silo. However, I don't think the platform will ever be able to give me what I want and provide a true spiritual successor to Constellation. It wasn't perfect, but it was certainly unlike anything I had seen before and raised my eyebrows at mysteries I'd never experienced in its competitors or successors. Unfortunately, I'll just be left to wonder what could have happened in Apple TV Plus' forgotten sci-fi show.